The submersible was unexpectedly damaged. In the critical moment, my wife, who served as the exploration team leader, gave the last spot in the rescue pod to her childhood sweetheart. I struggled to grab my wife's thigh, pleading desperately. She kicked me to the ground. "You're a diver too. At this depth, you won't die. Song Fan isn't as physically strong as you. Without the rescue pod, he's finished." Even at this crucial moment, my wife still expected me to be reasonable and yield to Song Fan. But she had long forgotten. 5 years ago, I developed pulmonary edema while saving her and could no longer dive. The submersible's alarm wailed incessantly in my ears as seawater rushed in from all directions. I could only remain motionless at the seabed, alone to meet my death. When I thought it was finally over, I opened my eyes again. I had become a disembodied soul drifting beside Lu Yu. There she was, radiating with brilliant smiles, gazing tenderly at Song Fan lying in the hospital bed. Lu Yu's delicate hands held a spoon, blowing on it before bringing it to Song Fan's lips. "Come try it, Xiao Fan. I made this chicken soup myself." In 5 years of marriage, I had never seen Lu Yu wear such a tender expression, nor had I ever tasted a meal cooked by her. Song Fan feigned a cough and said weakly, "Still no news from Brother Chen Ming? Could something have happened? It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on going, Brother Chen Ming could have escaped in the rescue pod. He was the one who stole my last spot, yet by voicing it first, he made me look like the villain." At the mention of my name, Lu Yu's expression instantly darkened, as if she had heard the most vile curse in the world. She snapped her smile away and replied coldly, "Why bring him up? He's a professional diver. Would a little depth like that trouble him? Just 200 meters. What's that to a diving champion like him? He just wants to grab my attention, still thinking about petty jealousy during a crisis. What a bastard." Lu Yu's face was filled with disgust and impatience, not as if facing her husband of 10 years, but a criminal who had imprisoned her. So my decade of care and support for her was seen as nothing but jealousy in her eyes. My tireless devotion couldn't rival a single cough from this man feigning illness before her. What trace had 10 years of affection left in her heart? Watching their tightly clasped hands, my heart seemed to shatter. "It's fine as long as you're okay. Don't mention his name again." Of course he was fine, but I wasn't. Drifting beside them, I couldn't help but weep silently. Song Fan leaned against Lu Yu's shoulder, filling the hospital room with ambiguous tenderness. He suddenly turned his face toward hers, lips poised. "Yuejia." Lu Yu turned too, their gazes locking, noses nearly touching. Their lips drew closer and closer. Knock, knock, knock. The hospital room door suddenly rattled with knocking. Lu Yu's assistant pushed open the door and entered, staring in surprise at the intimate pair before her. Perhaps in her mind, the person who should be nestled against Lu Yu at this moment was me. "Professor Lu, the press conference for this exploration mission starts this afternoon. When will you begin preparing?" Though burning with gossip, the assistant suppressed her curiosity for professionalism. She maintained a formal tone while reporting Lu Yu's schedule, her peripheral vision stealing glances at their clasped hands. Song Fan's eyes lit up at the mention of the press conference. "Sister Yu, could you take me to the press conference?" "Of course I can." Lu Yu agreed instantly, without a moment's hesitation. The assistant voiced concerns. "Professor Lu, is that appropriate? Isn't it standard practice in our institute for solo presentations?" Though irritated, Lu Yu struggled to maintain her gentleness in front of Song Fan. "You're my assistant. Just do as I say." Besides, Song Fan also contributed to this expedition's success. But what exactly did Song Fan contribute? I was the one who took the underwater photos, operated equipment to capture samples and organisms for analysis. I even uploaded all the research data to the escape pod during our final evacuation. Song Fan just panicked during the escape, didn't even know the submersible's layout, and had to be dragged into the escape pod by Lu Yu. I participated in countless expeditions and written numerous analysis reports. Yet Professor Lu never lets me attend press conferences. She always tells me coldly, "Solo presentation is our team's tradition. Any graduate student could handle your trivial tasks. Nothing significant. Focus on scientific rigor instead of chasing fame and TV appearances." As a farm boy, I've always dreamed of making a name for myself through education. I don't want fame or TV appearances. I just want my parents back in the countryside to see their child has made it. They don't have to worry anymore. Countless times I've explained this to Lu Yu, but she never believes me. Perhaps in her eyes, I'm exactly that kind of vanity-chasing social climber. Song Fan sat up excitedly upon hearing he could participate. "Sister Yu, let's get prepared. But weren't you feeling unwell? How can you go?" The excitement drained from Song Fan's face as he remembered he's still supposed to be recovering before Lu Yu. "It's fine. I've always watched Sister Yu's TV speeches. Today I finally get to stand beside you. I'm just too thrilled." This clumsy excuse wouldn't fool anyone except Lu Yu. But fooling Lu Yu was enough. As they chatted casually, my name never reappeared in their conversation. After a while, a knock came at the hospital room door. Lu Yu opened it to reveal my frail mother. Professor Lu, hello? How is my Chunming? I heard your activity encountered problems. I worried, so I came to check. Mother seemed apprehensive, keeping her head lowered while speaking. Mother wore simple yet clean clothes, her back slightly hunched. Illness and aging had long since ravaged my mother thoroughly. Every drop of blood in her body had passed through dialysis machine tubes. Chemotherapy for cancer had stripped away the beautiful long hair from her younger years. Watching Mother speak with a trembling voice, my heart felt as though it were bleeding. But Lu Yu didn't care. She wouldn't even spare a seat for my mother. Lu Yu blocked her at the doorway, preventing her from entering. What do you want here? Lu Yu's voice was cold and aloof, carrying the tone she used when reprimanding subordinates. I just wanted to see my son. Qingqing misses her mom too. Mom didn't dare to lift her head to speak to you. In her eyes, you was someone important, someone she wasn't worthy to address. My soul quivered before my mother. Mom, I'm right here, Mom. Can you see me? Mom, your son isn't here. You know exactly where he is. Qingqing, how dare you come looking for her? Tell her to find her real mother. With a loud bang, the door was slammed shut. My mother stood holding the door frame, head bowed, refusing to leave. My soul could only follow you, watching helplessly as she turned my mother away. Lin Xiao sat on the hospital bed, feigning weakness. Sis Yu, who was that? Nothing important. Just a shameless old hag. Now she's even learned to scheme with Chunming to deceive me. Through the gaps in the door, I watched my mother's spirit gradually dim. Yet she remained standing outside this hospital room door, refusing to leave for a long time. I struggled to reach out and hug my mother, even knowing I couldn't touch her. Just as she knew she couldn't enter here, yet still yearned to step inside. I don't want to look at Lu Yu anymore. I truly regret not taking better care of my mother. Perhaps I should have realized earlier. She never respected me, so naturally she wouldn't respect my mother either. If I had left her sooner, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today, and my mother wouldn't have suffered such humiliation from him. My mother, who worked hard her entire life, only wished for her child to live well. Yet now her child's wife has personally destroyed her last hope. The news broadcast on TV is playing. Our country has achieved tremendous success in submarine exploration. This afternoon, Project Leader Professor Lu will jointly report on this exploration with project members. The screen shifts, showing two people stepping onto the putty. When I stood on this central speaking platform for the first time beside Lu Yu, I've toiled in the research institute for 10 years with utter devotion, yet never once set foot here. Not because my achievements weren't dazzling enough, nor because my research was insignificant, but because Lu Yu never agreed. She never permitted me to speak, not even granting me co-presentation qualifications. While dismissing my papers as crude and fragile, Lu Yu would copy-paste entire sections verbatim. Yet I bore no resentment. Enjoying experimental results meant for two people by herself alone, her scientific advancement naturally accelerated. Soon she became the Institute's youngest project leader. Everyone envied her. Beautiful, intelligent, elegant, engaged in work she loved, with a husband who adored her to his core. Only she didn't share that sentiment. Beyond daily research duties, I meticulously managed every aspect concerning Lu Yu. Though denied speaking opportunities, watching Lu Yu radiate brilliance on stage filled me with pride. After each of her speeches, she needed to eat a piece of chocolate and drink a bottle of electrolyte water. Due to years of underwater research and work demands, her body had developed problems early on. After prolonged speaking, she required immediate replenishment of energy and electrolytes. I always stood ready backstage, immediately handing them to her as soon as she stepped down, before dizziness could set in. But this time I wasn't there. After finishing her speech, she returned backstage and habitually searched the table for water and chocolate, only to find nothing. As if refusing to believe my absence, she leaned on Song Fan, who had accompanied her on and off stage, shouting my name. Chunming, 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 come out now? I'm going to faint. Give me the chocolate. What exactly are you trying to summon, Lu Yu? All you'll summon is the incoming dizziness and discomfort from hypoglycemia, while I had long been discarded by you into the ocean depths. I watched coldly from the side. Song Fan nearby panicked, unsure how to handle the situation. Xiao Fan, could you go out and buy me a piece of chocolate and some electrolyte water for me? Her voice remained gentle towards Song Fan despite her dizziness. Song Fan immediately rushed out. She searched across the table and finally found a piece of candy. Lu Yu quickly ate it, then took out her phone after recovering. She dialed my phone number. The contact entry showed a string of cold digits. My name disgusted her so much she didn't even keep my WeChat contact, leaving only a phone number there. She frowned at the mechanical female voice on the other end. The call lasted only 2 or 3 seconds before she hung up. Chunming really has some nerve, daring to ignore my calls now. He didn't. He attend my speech event, now he's not answering my calls. What is he trying to do? Lu Yu's angry voice echoed through the empty lounge. She was willing to spend entire days with Song Fan, caring for him, but refused to make one more phone call to me. There wasn't the slightest concern for me in Lu Yu's eyes, only affection and tenderness for Song Fan. Yet during those nights when you never came home, do you know how I spent those days? I will never forget that day. The day Song Fan returned from abroad. The first thing he did after landing was call Lu Yu. At 2 a.m., Gu Qingqing drove straight to the airport. Lu Yu only remembered it was the day her childhood sweetheart Lin Xiao returned, forgetting it was our wedding anniversary. I sat alone at the dining table, clutching the gift prepared for Lu Yu, guarding the feast I'd made for us, dialing her number over and over again, from dawn to dusk and back to dawn, until my phone died, until my tears ran dry. The next morning, when my assistant finally contacted me, saying she'd worked all night to settle Song Fan and needed rest, my suspended heart finally turned completely to ashes. Staring at the lavish feast, carefully planned surprises and gifts before me, I couldn't shed a single tear. No sorrow is greater than a dead heart. Song Fan had garnered enough media attention this time. Under the torrent of his own lies and Lu Yu's unprincipled flattery, he had already become a genius in marine science in the eyes of the media. Song Fan looked at Lu Yu with concern in the car. Yuejia, is there still no news from brother Chenming? Is he all right? Lu Yu's cheerful expression immediately turned somber. What could possibly happen to him? Don't take this the wrong way, but you were too foolish. You nearly lost your life at sea because of him. You should care more about yourself. You're too naive and kind-hearted. Song Fan smiled bashfully after hearing this. Isn't that why you liked me in the first place? Song Fan and Lu Yu had once been graduate students under the same supervisor. At that time, they were hailed as the golden couple of Ocean University. Their remarkable appearances and exceptional research capabilities made countless people envy them. 5 years ago, due to Song Fan's negligent inspection work, mechanical issues arose in the submersible, causing it to stall underwater, nearly resulting in Lu Yu's death. This incident led to his removal from the project team. It was during that accident that I was also on the submersible. To rescue Lu Yu, I handed her the last set of life-saving equipment. She had already fallen unconscious from the high-pressure underwater environment. Fortunately, the depth was not extreme. Without diving gear or oxygen tanks, I miraculously carried Lu Yu back to shore. But I suffered pulmonary edema and a fractured ankle from inhaling excessive seawater and enduring tremendous pressure. I permanently lost my qualification for solo diving, left only to gaze at my diving championship trophy and reminisce about my days of underwater artistry. The usually icy and elegant Lu Yu unexpectedly blushed crimson at a single remark. Lu Yu and Song Fan returned gleefully to the research institute. As they stepped out of the vehicle, a young girl abruptly blocked their path. Dressed in plain clothes, the child stood alone at the institute's entrance awaiting Lu Yu, like fragile duckweed trembling in a storm. She didn't know where her mother's home was, nor did she know where to go to find her mother. She only learned that her mother worked here from the TV. Grandma was seriously ill and couldn't walk, so she had to come all alone. That's Qingqing, mine and Lu Yu's daughter. But Lu Yu never believed this. Soon after my daughter was born, Song Fan found her. Song Fan told Lu Yu that Qingqing was my child with the other woman. The child she had given birth to was a son, and Qingqing had been secretly swapped over. No paternity test was done, no checks of any kind were conducted. Based solely on Song Fan's words, Lu Yu firmly believed Qingqing wasn't her daughter. From that day on, Lu Yu never allowed Qingqing to appear before her again. Despite my family's desperate pleas, Qingqing was too young, she needed her mother. Lu Yu only coldly said she didn't believe it. The daughter held a piece of paper and a gift box in her hands. Tears kept falling and splashing onto the paper. Seeing Lu Yu getting out of the car, she immediately ran up to her. Mom, Dad is dead. The grief left my daughter, choking back her tears. Lu Yu immediately snatched the paper from Qingqing's hand. It was my death notice. Chenming? Dead. Lu Yu stood frozen in place. At the police station, Lu Yu trembled as she lifted the white cloth before her. My swollen, grotesque corpse lay revealed to Lu Yu. She recognized it instantly. The tattoo on the neck bearing her name was unmistakable. Staring at my own body, memories of my final moments surged forth. The submarine's ascent mechanism had failed mysteriously, water flooding the cabin as everyone scrambled to escape. Soon, only one seat remained in the escape pod. I knelt on the ground, clutching Lu Yu's leg, pleading for her to let me board. After strapping herself tightly into the pod, she kicked me away and dragged Song Fan in. You're a diving champion. Why are you acting so weak? At a time like this, still using that to get my attention? Can't you stop gambling with people's lives for these meaningless stunts? My pulmonary effusion has been worsening since that incident 5 years ago. I can't even dive now, the slightest strenuous exercise leaves me gasping for breath. They shut the escape pod door without any regard for my safety. I lay on the dark ocean floor watching the escape pod float toward the shimmering surface. The only sound left was the shrill emergency alarm. Only the faint red malfunction light from the submersible remained in the depths. I'd thought dying with the submersible would give me a more dignified end. But clearly, that wasn't the case. Lu Yu retched between sobs while Song Fan silently covered the body with a white cloth. Song Fan helped her out of the morgue. Outside, a policewoman handed her my personal effects, a phone and a wedding ring. The ring on the corpse is mine, while this ring belongs to Lu Yu. She never wore this ring once, always claiming it would interfere with the experiments. I had planned to propose to her again during our wedding anniversary this time, to awaken her feelings, make her accept me, and love me anew. But how can you awaken something that never existed to begin with? My mother, dragging her ailing body and supported by a nurse, also came to the police station. Disregarding status or propriety and her own physical condition, she grabbed Lu Yu's collar, weeping and screaming. "Give me back my son. You killed my son. It was you. Return my son. Give me back my son." Lu Yu remained silent, allowing my mother to cry and shout. Nearby officers and Song Fan pulled the two apart. Led by the police, my mother entered the morgue to see her child one last time. Song Fan then led Lu Yu to the police station entrance. "Song Fan, it was me who killed Chun Ming. It was my fault he didn't get on the life pod. I got him killed." Ye's cries intensified as she spoke, until Song Fan embraced her tightly. "It's not your fault, Ye. If anyone should take blame, it's me for taking his spot. You gave him diving gear. Him not getting out was his own doing." Song Fan patted Lu Yu's back while comforting her. Besides, the submersible only had 6 seats. Him boarding would have made 7. He got what he deserved. This clumsy excuse wouldn't fool anyone except Lu Yu. Originally, there were 6 planned participants. Song Fan wasn't among them. He forced his way in through sheer persistence with Lu Yu, and thus I became the one who got what he deserved. Staring at the man before me, my tears gradually stopped. The sorrow left my eyes. Yet my heart now screams to weep. 10 years of marriage. I abandoned everything. Just wanted her to live well. I took pride in being able to care for her. The tears shed today for my death are not even as many as those shed when Song Fan was fired back then. 5 years ago in that accident, Lu Yu fell unconscious at the bottom of the sea and never learned what truly happened. She only knew I joined the project team WHI. Lu Song Fan was expelled. She stubbornly believed I had schemed to drive Song Fan away out of jealousy, refusing to spare me another glance. Even with my medical reports lying on the table, she wouldn't grant them a single look. When I begged her to take me to the hospital, all I received was loathing and icy rejection. Under Song Fan's comfort, Lu Yu returned home with him. They paid no heed to my critically ill mother or our lonely daughter. Claiming emotional turmoil over my death, she turned off her phone and leaned against Song Fan. The two nestled together on the sofa, watching TV, just like the scene I'd once dreamed of sharing with her. Since Song Fan returned from abroad, we'd never embraced like that again. Song Fan, seeing Lu Yu who still seemed immersed in grief, suddenly kissed her. Lu Yu was startled, but before she could react, Song Fan pressed her down onto the sofa. Yeah, I've actually liked you for a long time. I can't bear to see you so heartbroken. I don't know how to cheer you up either. After much thought, maybe this is the only way. After speaking, Song Fan kissed Lu Yu deeply. She seemed frozen in shock, neither avoiding nor resisting, numbly accepting his kiss. Gradually, Lu Yu wrapped her arms around Song Fan. Feeling her hands on his back, he stopped kissing. Now that Chun Ming is gone, I can openly confess to you. Lu Yu, I love you. I want to be with you. Lu Yu's face flushed with bashfulness and surprise. She never imagined Song Fan still loved her even after her marriage. Her charm felt validated, but more importantly, she'd finally received Song Fan's confession. Lu Yu did not speak, merely lifting her head to kiss. Song Fan naturally understood her meaning and eagerly reciprocated. Soon both were overcome with passion, retreating together to the bedroom. I watched as their clothes were discarded, limbs entwined in passionate union. I went mad trying to escape, unable to bear witnessing my beloved wife unite with another man on the very night she learned of my death. Yet a mysterious force trapped me here, helpless but to watch them unfold. If a soul could be torn to shreds, it would resemble what I am now. At dawn the next day, the doorbell rang again. Song Fan answered only to be immediately seized by police. I knew my pre-death report had taken effect. Emerging drowsily from the room, Lu Yu saw Song Fan being arrested. She desperately lunged to intercept the officers. "What are you doing? What crime has he committed to warrant arrest? Release him this instant. This is my husband." The two police officers ignored Lu Yu's tugs and pressed Song Fan down onto the table, fastening handcuffs on him. Song Fan is suspected of selling state secrets. We're arresting him in accordance with the law. As for you, Mrs. Lu, we know your husband just died. T.S. makes you an accomplice in shielding a spy. We have the authority to detain you too. Soon both were taken to the police station. Due to her professor status, Lu Yu was only guarded by 2 female officers without handcuffs, while Song Fan kept his head lowered with an unfathomably gloomy expression. Lu Yu stood beside Song Fan, tightly clasping his hand. I'll get you out safely. Trust me. Song Fan looked up with his signature smile. They were then separated for interrogation. Hovering near Lu Yu, I listened to the police questioning her. In the interrogation room, she postured with authority, jabbing her finger at the officers and shouting, I've been with him every single day. Do you think I wouldn't know what he's been doing? Would you rather believe a dead man's words than a living person's? Lu Yu nearly leapt up in furious rebuke, held back only by the chair restraining her. This is slander from the dead. Slander. You hear me? Do you realize how much time you're wasting detaining me? Countless experiments await our work. When higher-ups demand accountability, can you bear the consequences? My death, only a day past, had already become trivial in her words, as if my passing differed not at all from that of some complete stranger. The police produced an autopsy report. Ms. Lu Yu, did you know Mr. Chun Ming couldn't dive due to pulmonary edema and a fractured ankle? The triumphant woman froze mid-rant. An additional medical record appeared. This is Mr. Chun Ming's medical record from 5 years ago. Lu Yu's trembling hands received the papers, turning them over repeatedly. Impossible. He dragged me upward when we swam. I survived unscathed. How could anything have happened to him? She suddenly froze, as if recalling that hazy fragment of memory. The figure she'd glimpsed when opening her eyes during her unconscious state that day gradually merged with my silhouette. When being taken to hospital, she remembered rescuers saying the person who saved her would inevitably develop pulmonary edema, never able to dive again. She fell completely silent. So everything he said was true. Connecting all the pieces, she broke down. I'd never lied to her, yet she believed I was perpetually dishonest. Finally, sitting quietly, her former haughtiness vanished. She stopped mentioning higher authorities. After truthfully answering police questions, officers recognized Lu Yu had been deceived and released her home. Returning home, Lu Yu discovered Song Fan's laptop left on the table. Driven by curiosity, she opened it and was shocked. The device contained all the research data from Lu Yu's institute, along with Song Fan's overseas chat records. Chun Ming is finally dead. I can get close to Lu Yu now. This way, Lu Yu will never know about the events from 5 years ago. She fell a sigh. Lent. Lu Yu had never imagined Song Fan could be a spy stealing scientific research secrets. She never believed Song Fan would deceive her. But clearly, the person she deeply loved had never spoken a single truthful word to her. She immediately dialed my mother's phone number. She anxiously waited for an answer, but the prolonged, busy tone from the other end forced her to keep waiting. Once, twice, countless times. Lu Yu just wanted to get through to my mother to ask why the events from 5 years ago were never mentioned, whether it was me who saved her. But only a cold, mechanical female voice answered her. Deception-fueled anger and the frustration of being ignored rose simultaneously. She was just about to drive to the hospital when a doctor called. Hello, are you Chen Qingqing's mother? Yes. Where is she? What's wrong? Is her grandmother nearby? The doctor seemed hesitant, hemming and hawing, unable to get the words out. Lu Yu lost her patience, shouting into the phone. What the hell is going on? Spit it out already. The doctor said, Qingqing's grandmother suffered a heart attack and passed away last night. Now Qingqing has gone into cardiac arrest and is currently undergoing emergency resuscitation, but we need your signature for the procedure. Lu Yu said she'd come immediately, grabbing her laptop and keys as she rushed out of the house. She drove like a maniac, running several red lights and sideswiping numerous cars as she flew to the hospital. Disheveled, she burst into the hospital and quickly found the doctor to sign the forms. The operating room's red light illuminated. The doctor revealed that before her grandmother's death last night, they'd tried calling Lu Yu repeatedly from the grandmother's phone, but couldn't get through. At that time, there was still a chance to save her, but without anyone to authorize treatment, they could only watch helplessly as she passed away. Her head bowed. Lu Yu stared at her phone's call history, dozens of identical numbers in the harassment call log. Lu Yu's eyes filled completely with confusion and anguish. She murmured to herself, did I cause his death? Did I kill Chun Ming's mother? I had told her long ago that my mother was sick, and Qingqing also seemed to have a hereditary heart disease. The first time I asked her for money was to keep my mother alive. I spent all my money, even sold off my property, just to treat my mother's illness. I wanted her to live. Only when I had not a single penny left did I finally dare to ask Lu Yu for money. She refused me harshly, leaving me no room at all. Your mother is sick? I wish she were dead already. Are you teaming up to scam me for money? Right. If she didn't even believe I was sick, how could she believe my mother was ill? It wasn't until night fell that the operating room's lights turned from red to green. The Tor emerged drenched in sweat and bowed to Lu Yu. During the surgery, We had already missed the critical window for resuscitation. We did our utmost. Please accept our condolences. I watched my daughter slowly emerge from the operating room, drifting out bit by bit like mist. Daddy, I finally found you. Qingqing threw herself into my arms, enveloping me in a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Meanwhile, an icy chill had already engulfed the solitary Liu Yue. Clutching the personal effects of my mother and Qingqing given by the doctor, Liu Yue's hands trembled uncontrollably. A few sun-bleached garments, various identification documents, and a worn yet spotless teddy bear glimpsed through her shaking fingers. That teddy bear brought back memories. Liu Yue had once treated Qingqing kindly, during that brief period when she believed that though the child wasn't hers biologically, the wrongdoing was mine, not the child's. Liu Yue had taken Qingqing shopping then, buying her this very teddy bear from a street vendor. When I later saw the bear at home, Qingqing proudly announced, "Mommy bought this for me." I was thrilled, thinking we were about to become a normal family and could live happily together. But Song Fan appeared again, summoning Liu Yu away with some trivial excuse. I don't know what Song Fan said to Liu Yu that day, but from that day onward, Liu Yu never allowed Qingqing to step through the main gate again. Liu Yu picked up the toy bear with one hand and a piece of paper with the other. It was the parentage test between her and Qingqing, a DNA match of 99.99%. Throughout all these years since Qingqing's birth, she'd had countless opportunities to get a DNA test, yet she never doubted Song Fan's word. She collapsed completely, kneeling on the floor clutching the toy bear tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Chunming, Qingqing. I was wrong. Why? Why didn't you tell me sooner? How many times had I told Liu Yu? I never lied to her, yet she never believed me. You only start loving us after we die. Don't you think it's too late? Holding the death certificates of my entire family, Liu Yu wore a look of unprecedented bewilderment in her eyes. She drove aimlessly in circles on the road, looping around the research institute and our home, around and around. At this moment, the institute assistant sent her a message asking her to come. The black box from that accident 5 years ago had finally been decrypted. Liu Yu immediately headed to the institute, disregarding her current appearance. When had anyone at the institute ever seen Liu Yu like this? She had always been the epitome of aloof elegance, never with a hair out of place. But since my death, her life had descended into increasing chaos until reaching this state. Disheveled hair, makeup smudged by tears, clothes no longer maintaining their former neatness. Ignoring the strange looks from others, she sat before the computer and began watching. The blurry footage from the black box started replaying everything from 5 years ago. The submersible began to blare alarms as the black box activated, the entire screen engulfed in panicked crimson light. Song Fan appeared before the screen, smashing the cabinet containing diving suits. He pulled out a diving suit and threw it to the floor. Then I appeared in the footage too, frantically grappling with Song Fan. You ruined this one. There were only 3 total. Who are you sentencing to die? I don't care who dies, as long as it's not me. Instead of arguing with me, you should go save your wife. Song Fan retrieved a brand new diving suit from the cabinet and escaped through the emergency exit. I picked up the suit from the floor, shook off the glass shards, and pulled it over myself. With great effort, I finally managed to strap the other diving suit onto Liu Yu. Carrying the disoriented Liu Yu, I swam outward. In reality, Liu Yu's face was once again streaked with tears. He had no oxygen tank, no diving suit. At 200 meters below the surface, still carrying me. Why? Why would he do that? Why? She lowered her head and sobbed, her body trembling. But no one stepped forward to comfort her. The affairs between Liu Yu and Song Fan at the institute had long been exposed, and no one was willing to console her. Indeed, who would appreciate belated affection? As I watched her wail in anguish, I could only feel like laughing. Liu Yu arrived at the police station entrance carrying a laptop and black box, then halted. She paced back and forth outside the police station. Just as she was unsure whether to enter, Song Fan emerged. Song Fan noticed Liu Yu pacing at the entrance and assumed she had come to meet him. He walked over and embraced her. With icy detachment, she pushed Song Fan away. Only then did he sense something amiss. What's wrong, Yaya? Are you unwell? Or just exhausted? It's all because of that dead bastard Chen Ming. Even in death, he has to disgust us. How utterly detestable. Liu Yu became visibly agitated the moment she heard my name. She shoved Song Fan's open laptop right in front of his face. Song Fan stared at the phone and fell silent, his previous affectionate demeanor gone. Yeah, let me explain. I just got carried away after winning you over. Shut up. Liu Yu finally exploded, the first time she hadn't been fooled by Song Fan's clumsy lies. Fine. If the data in this computer was just you getting carried away, then explain why it contains evidence of leaking classified intel. You knew about Chen Ming's affairs all along. Why did you lie to me? Liu Yu thrust the laptop into a police officer's hands and tore herself away. You kept vowing. Your love, yet it was you who sabotaged the diving suit 5 years ago. We've been together all these years. Wasn't that enough? Why did you have to kill Chen Ming? Song Fan finally dropped his facade upon hearing this, revealing his true malicious nature. Be with you? If it weren't for you holding those classified codes, I'd have left long ago. Staying with you every day makes me want to vomit. Do you really think you're so charming? 5 years ago, if it weren't for Chen Ming, I would have taken the experimental data abroad and never returned. He hysterically shouted at Lu Yu. 5 years ago, I bought you insurance. You were supposed to die in that submarine accident last time. Song Fan seemed to realize he had no chance left, roaring all truths at Lu Yu. He had long grown weary and resentful of Lu Yu. Years ago when they studied together and entered the research institute, Lu Yu became project leader with my help while he remained insignificant within the institute. He craved success, detesting how Lu Yu always maintained her superior attitude. Gu Qingqing always did better at the same tasks, and when we got married, Song Fan felt he meant nothing in Lu Yu's heart. Lu Yu, you're nothing but a bitch. Back then, Chen Ming served you like a dog, worshipped you like an ancestor, but you turned a blind eye. Now you come seeking revenge for him. He's dead now, and you come demanding answers from me? Do you think you're some saint? You're just satisfying yourself, finding an excuse to forgive yourself. Lu Yu completely lost control. She lunged forward and choked Song Fan's neck, trying to strangle him to death. The nearby police officers immediately separated them upon seeing this. If there's an afterlife, I truly hope I never meet her again. As a sense of relief welled up in my heart, my soul suddenly began to surge. Then everything went dark before my eyes, and all dissolved into nothingness. Just when I thought everything was over, human shouts echoed in my ears again. Chen Ming, Qingqing, please come back. I was wrong. I was really wrong. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Lu Yu with disheveled hair, surrounded by empty liquor bottles and cigarette butts on the floor. In our bedroom, spirit tablets of me, Qingqing, and my mother sat on the table. The woman who never touched alcohol or cigarettes finally started smoking and drinking to drown her sorrows. Qingqing, my daughter, I've wronged you. It's me who killed you both. I deserve death. Qingqing gradually materialized beside me, clutching my hand and looking up to ask, Daddy, what's wrong with Mommy? Why is Mommy saying sorry to Qingqing? I patted Qingqing's head and told her, Child, Mommy did something wrong. This is what she deserves. Then Daddy, Qingqing doesn't want Mommy like this anymore. If Mommy tells Qingqing she's a good girl, Qingqing W. He'll forgive her. Hearing Qingqing's words, the defenses in my heart instantly crumbled. I began screaming curses at Lu Yu, while Qingqing just kept pulling at me, begging me to stop. Lu Yu seemed to sense something, lifting her head to look out the window. Husband, Qingqing, is that you? Have you come back? I stopped cursing and gradually calmed down. She suddenly seemed to remember something, frantically rummaging through items on the table. Finally, she found that ring in the drawer, the dust-covered ring she hadn't worn since the day after their wedding. She solemnly slipped it onto her finger. Facing the spiritual tablets of our 3 family members, she kowtowed 3 resounding bows of reverence. Mother, husband, Qingqing, I've wronged you all. I'm the one who caused your deaths. The evidence of Song Fan's crimes was ironclad, leaving no room for maneuver. He was directly sent to the execution ground. I know this bastard's life can't replace yours, so I'll repay you with mine. Chen Ming, never meet me again in the next lifetime. After speaking these words, she stood up, drank the last mouthful of wine, took out a knife, and laid down in the bathtub. I died in the water. Now she's going to die in water too. There's no excess emotion in my heart, no sorrow, no pity, no reluctance. After all, the world 200 meters below sea level is far more terrifying than a bathtub. Soon, a soul clad in filth emerged drifting. Lu Yu finally saw me and our daughter again. Daughter, husband, I finally see you again. Lu Yu's voice actually choked up. I stopped looking at her, throwing out just one sentence. But I never want to see you again. With that, I took Qingqing's small hand and walked into the glowing gate not far away. Qingqing, will there be a mother in our next life?